Jurassic Parts. This is a competitive game where you break slabs of rocks to reveal fossils, and you're trying to collect the right amount and the right combination of bones to build entire dinosaur skeletons and score more points than the opponents. The game is played on this modular play area that you assemble by combining together these hexagonal tiles. At the beginning of the game, you shuffle them all together in a way that approximately half of them are face up and half of them are face down, just like so. Then each player will have a card representing their archaeologist, their paleontologist, with a little bit of reminder of what things do, and you also have a reminder of what the skeletons that you're trying to build look like, which is very important because, say, if I'm able to build this big guy here, the Brachiosaurus, then I get to score 15 points, not bad. And smaller dinosaurs will score a lot less, but there's a reward. Every time that you complete a dinosaur, regardless of size, you will collect a piece of amber, which you can trade in for special advantages. Each player has a pool of chisels that are represented by these plastic pieces and look nice. They look like, well, chisels, but they're also made of smooth plastic, and when they sit on the table like this, it's just a bit annoying for me to pick them up. When they're face down, that's okay. I wish that, although they would be less thematic, I wish they had chosen little wooden sticks like other games, like Dracula, for example. Players will alternate taking turns. When it is your turn, you take 3 chisels from this side of the board that represents dull chisels, and you sharpen, and so you place them on this side, and you have 3 of them that are sharp. And then the main mechanic of the game is that you will place these on the board in the play area in between cracks. If you have any of them saved at the end of a turn, then you can save only one of them. I guess they rust and get dull very quickly in the desert. That's how it works. In any case. So it is your turn. You're going to place these on the board in between tiles, creating lines, creating cracks on the board. If you're placing a chisel in between 2 tiles and there are no rocks there, like in that case, there are no rocks on either side, then you simply place it there. Ta-da! And you need to place it correctly so it doesn't move around too much. Of course, this was there you go. There you go. If you're placing a chisel in between an edge that has rocks on one side, like in that case, then you discard a chisel from your supply. It goes into the dull area so that you can place that one there. If you want to place a chisel in between an area, in between 2 tiles, and there are rocks on both sides, then you need to discard 2 and you place the remaining one. That means it's going to be a bit of an anticlimactic turn because pretty much you're probably going to do that. You discard those 2 chisels to place that one there. And suppose that after a couple of turns, the board will start looking a little bit like this. Suppose we have 3 players, which is kind of like my constituents these days, because I don't have game night yet due to the current pandemic. The Omicron variant is really worrisome to me, and so that's how it works. And so I play either games, solitaire, or with my kids that are currently 9 and 11. So you know, this is a game that I play with them, so this is a game that you can play with younger folks. Now, when an area of the board is separated from the main area, and it can be like almost half, boom, is cracked from the main area, then you remove all the chisels that will be returned to the players, but first you count to see who has majority. The player that contributed the most chisels to the current cut will get more, and then the next player, and then the next player. In this case, for example, purple has the most, and they'll get first pick. You take all of the tiles that were face down, and you put them face up. I don't remember that was part of it, but doesn't matter for this example. Now, the first player who has the most will get half of these rounded up. And so, in this case, this player collects 3, and then the next player collects half rounded up, which would be 1, and this one also collects 1 rounded up, which would be 1. If any tiles are left, suppose at the end of the distribution, they're placed next to the field leader, and we'll talk about the field leader in a little bit. But after a while, the field leader will have a bunch of tiles waiting there. So once you receive tiles, if any, you place them in your play area. So the selection of tiles can be pretty important. You may go for a small dinosaur that will be completed right away. You may start building some bigger dinosaurs. One problem that I have here is the tiles really look very similar to one another. They wanted to create, I guess, a realistic board that looks like a real desert with real bones, but then the only thing that really identifies these dinosaurs is that small indication there. I wish, you know, realism be darned, that this one had a purple background, this had a yellow background, this had another background, orange, white, black, so that there was big difference. At a glance I can tell which one is which. So first I have to check, and then I need to check the map to make sure that I'm building it correctly. So yes, I decided to get the brachiosaur. I collect a plant that can be useful at the end of the game. I got a piece of a raptor. I got a tail of a Tyrannosaurus, and that's how it works. You just keep building. When you finish an entire dinosaur, you get an amber, as we mentioned earlier. So during your turn, that's the main thing that you will do. You place chisels, and from time to time that will crack part of the board, and you may get tiles. And the difference can be pretty stark. If it's a big slab that is removed, then you of course have a big drop between the first player that maybe, you know, collects 5 and the second player that collects 2, for example. During your turn, if you have amber that you collected by completing dinosaurs, then you can conduct transactions with the field leader, represented by this card. By this card here, the field leader will also receive the tiles that are not assigned otherwise, and you can basically spend amber to perform these actions, to gain these benefits. For example, you can place your next 2 chisels with ignoring rocks without the extra cost. It can be very powerful. You can sharpen 2 extra chisels, so that round you have more to spend. You can take any fossil tile from the field, or you can take a fossil tile from the leader. So this is the general idea of how you play Jurassic Parks. You continue until you have collected all of the tiles that are in the middle of the play area, and at the point you score points from the dinosaurs that you were able to build, from the number of plants that you have. Also, amber that you still have at the end of the game is worth victory points. A player with the highest score wins the game. So this is how you play Jurassic Parks, and the game is not a new favorite in my family, let's put it that way. The first thing, again, the production is just not very practical, at least for me. Picking up these like smooth and weirdly shaped chisels is not just, it just takes me too long, and sometimes I'm just spending time doing that, and that's not fun. But again, to me, the biggest problem is that I wish these tiles were a lot more identifiable. And then when it comes to gameplay itself, there is a weird mix between a luck element and a harsh, unforgiving planning element. Meaning, well, you see where the cracks are being made, and you can calculate exactly, if I place 2 chisels there, then Luisa will be able to place 1, and they crack that thing, but then I have minority, so I don't want to do that. And so definitely there's analysis paralysis there, because there's no hidden information when it comes to that. You know exactly what the players are trying to do. And again, Giving a player an opportunity to finish a crack during their turn may be catastrophic for you, so you just don't want to do it. The game allows you to take your sweet time figuring out where to place the next chisel and gives you an incentive to do so because, again, making a mistake may be pretty bad. It may be hard to come back because there is what we call in game design a positive feedback loop, meaning the better you do, the better you will do. There is no real rubber banding, there is no catching up mechanism, because if I early on performed a major big crack here and I was able to complete some dinosaurs, maybe I was lucky because these fossils here allow me to complete dinosaurs. Then I got amber. So first I have a bunch of dinosaurs completed and you're behind, and I have amber that will allow me to get extra benefits, which will allow me, I think you guessed it, to get more tiles. So I wish there was a rubber banding mechanism. I wish there was a way in which it didn't leave you like a bitter taste in the mouth when somebody collects a lot of tiles and somebody doesn't. I wish it wasn't that as harsh as, half, one player gets half and the other players get half of that and the following player half of that. Most important is just a game that the basic idea to place these chisels is weighted with such consequence that doesn't use analysis paralysis, doesn't use my kids to get annoyed, and I'm putting it mildly, when they realize that they made a mistake. It's a game that just feels stressful and doesn't just create that sense of flow or fun, of a nice pace. And again, when I spend a lot of time checking that this is the correct dinosaur and goes in the right position, I love to do that to check the pieces when I'm solving jigsaw puzzles, when I'm solving a board game. That should be automatic. That should be intuitive. This goes here, this goes there. So the graphic design of the pieces is not great, and gameplay is just not one that we found very attractive, because it's easy to get ahead, and once you have a runaway leader, then that will remain a runaway leader. But most importantly, there is also, again, the fact that getting a lot of tiles will give you more actions, will let you to have more fun, and if you are left behind, you not only will you more likely lose the game, but also performing fewer actions, and maybe you are sitting there and putting down one chisel that turn, and the opponent places a bunch and uses an action and does more things, etc., etc., etc. So just not a game that we fell in love with in our family. And this is my assessment of Jurassic Parts.